Good morning, Dr. Jonah Schenker. We are live here at Q29 Studio for Leading for Deeper Learning. Today is what it is all about. We get to sit down with our young professionals, our young scholars, our students at some of the programs at Ulster BOCES as we head into the spring. And we're going to have a conversation about what's happening currently. We're going to talk a little bit about the changes in New York, what all of that means, and most importantly, we want to hear from you about what the adults should be considering as we think about school changes each year and as we move forward here in New York. Let's kick it off with some introductions. Why don't we start down here and we'll work this way. Tell us who you are, tell us what program you are, and tell us anything you want to share.
Hi, I'm Fateen Akbar. I'm a CITL student. I go to Career Tech. I'm in the criminal justice program, and I'm Poughkeepsie Home District.
Awesome. Welcome. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
I'm Nisean, Abney. I'm a junior. My home school is Ellenville, and my trade in BOCES is cybersecurity.
Boss.
I'm Madison Liebel. I attend Hudson Valley Pathways Academy. I am from Kingston, and I attend robotics and advanced manufacturing.
Wonderful.
My name is Matthew Reilly. I attend Port Ewen BOCES, and I just work there, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome. You ready to get going?
Let's do it.
Yes,
All
sir.
right, let's kick it off.
Game time.
So we're going to start, and we're going to go right to the future of school. I don't want to talk about the academics that you're doing right now. I want to talk about experiences, right? Like there are things that happen in school, experiences that you go through that are the most meaningful, they're the most relevant to each of you. And so if you could talk about some of the experiences that you think are critical, that as we think about the future of school should be embedded in school for all. No order, whoever wants to jump in. What are the experiences that you connect to, and tell us a little bit about why?
When I think about the future of school, something that means a lot to me is being able to go out and engage with my community, not just inside of my school, but around the world, and being able to talk to people and experience things that I would have never been able to experience.
So let's talk about that for a second, because before you and I were having some conversations, and I'm like, you got to share that. So you're just coming off of an experience. You traveled, you got to travel somewhere. Where did you go? What was it for? Tell me a little bit about some of the connections that happened there for you as you had that experience.
I had the opportunity to go to Houston, Texas, and attend the first robotics worldwide championship. And what that meant to me is, although our robot didn't make it, we had the opportunity to make it. So I got to connect with people from around the world. I remember talking to a team from Pakistan and how they had no FRC teams, First Robotics, but they had First Tech Challenge teams. And it was great to talk to people from different cultures around the world. And I learned a lot about how to engage in our community.
Awesome. And you also, not just students, right? Who else did you get to meet? You shared a little bit about some of the employers. You shared with me about some of the colleges. But before we jump to somebody next, we just share a little bit about some of those entities.
So companies that I see myself working for in the future, such as NASA and Boeing, I had the opportunity to speak with them myself. And I also had the opportunity to talk to different colleges and different universities that I'm thinking of looking to attend in my future, such as NYU, WPI, or Embry-Riddle.
Awesome. Experiences. Where do we want to go next?
I would definitely say the most meaningful experiences is definitely those workplace learning challenges that we get from industries such as Viking Industries, or when it comes to like finances. I feel like those are the most meaningful because school is mostly generalized. They're just learn information and take it in, but actually learn real world problems, like how to solve, okay, if I need this much money for college or for this car, what do I do? Do I take out this loan? What type of savings account do I use? How much money do I put in each month? What is my expenses? What do I have to figure out? How can I reach my goal? And just learn just stuff outside of school is just really just that wow factor. Like, oh man, there's a lot of stuff to learn out of school. And I feel like those are the most meaningful because not a lot of kids mostly get workplace learning challenges. Only, certain stuff like in BOCES, you'll get them. But people who mostly stick and don't want to, I would say, see what they can do, I feel like they're missing out so much. And I feel like the teacher should install something more like that. And definitely in our school districts, not just in BOCES, but in school in general.
And so two of the things that you spoke about are part of this plan in New York as we think about the changes in school. Financial literacy becoming a requirement for all students, right? Like really understanding the applications that you're going to need to navigate this complex world.
Definitely.
And that idea of workplace learning challenges really comes in when we think about career-connected learning, when we think about kind of opening the school doors to experiences and working with outside experts or industry or community partners, experiences that, again, that you've had, or just the elements to experiences that you think are critical as we think about the future of school. All schools should be having these opportunities for students. Anything coming to your mind?
For me, it's Access VR.
Okay.
It's an outside working
Yeah.
place for me. I
Okay.
go to BOCES in Port Ewen. They help me a lot with, because Aaron, Aaron Eberly,
Yeah.
he is my boss, and basically he runs and I go through jobs and stuff through BOCES. And the stuff I do there is actually real world stuff, and it helps me learn skills and stuff.
So they've set up an opportunity for you
But I didn't
to,
want to go to career tech. So,
Right. and so you're working within the parameters of your school. Are you getting paid?
yes.
Okay. And what are the, so is this happening during the day?
Yeah, every single day after
Okay.
my morning classes, all
Okay.
my main ones.
And so do you move in and you check in with Aaron, who's a guidance counselor, but also
Yeah,
your
my boss.
coordinator, your boss.
Yeah.
And he's giving you the tasks that
Mhm.
you need to complete for the day.
Yeah, so I deliver water bottles to the garden outside, landscaping. I do everything around the
You're
building.
running the building.
Yeah.
Amazing. Anything you want to share with us?
I think the most important thing about schools is hands-on learning.
Okay.
Hands-on learning, because I'm not a get a textbook and read it type of person. I'm more of experience hands-on. I'm in criminal justice, and we do real-world stuff like mock trials and mock crime scenes. And I think that's better for me to do it hands-on than just learning through a textbook or TV.
So when you say it's better for you, when you have the ability to build something or contribute to a mock trial event, live out that scene and be part of it, you're able to absorb the information in a different way rather than go home, read chapters 1 through 2 and come back and tell us what you learned.
Yeah.
Awesome. So let's switch to what New York State is centering in all of these transformations moving forward. They're talking about the New York State Portrait of a Graduate. And all students, right, are going to have to develop these skills from kindergarten through middle school and up through high school. That are the things that you were all just talking about. We're talking about communication. We're talking about critical thinking. We're talking about global citizenship. That idea to have, how do we navigate this interconnected global world? They're talking about reflection and future focused. And then this other idea of academic mindsets. There is content and knowledge that we need to know in order to kind of move on and progress, regardless of whether or not we're going to go directly into the workforce, we're going to go into the military, we're going to do a 2-year college, 4-year college apprentice, right? There's this body of knowledge. But let's talk about those skills: communication, global citizenship, reflection, future focus, critical thinking. What do those skills mean to you?
I think all of those are very important. Communication and being social in schools is a very helpful thing to move past when you graduate. For me, because I want to go in the Marine Corps, you need to have social skills, discipline, and to know when to listen to people.
Yeah.
So you can't just go and do whatever you want. There should be a set of rules. I think that's a good thing too. And I think you should be able to communicate with your peers to get social, because if you don't socialize, you're just going to not be very good on the outside world. You're going to be in a a desk job in a loan building. So yeah, that's not a happy life. So
That is not a happy life.
no, it's not. So
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit more about those skills. Is there one of them you think is most important? Are in our current model of school, are we really intentionally developing these? Do you think it's a good thing that New York is saying, like, actually, we have to really begin to focus on these? Anything you want to share about these skills?
I think it is amazing that New York State is pushing out the portrait of a graduate. In BOCES, in HVPA, we already follow a really similar curriculum, learning threads, self-direction, leadership, creativity, global citizenship, and multiple literacies. So I noticed a big parallel between these two. And I feel a little bit ahead of the game because I know exactly what they want and I'm already following what they want as well.
So this is your first year there.
Yes.
And those learning threads that you talked about as curriculum, those are the things that you really work on each day or through your projects or challenges at HVPA?
Yeah.
Okay, and what does that look like? How are you thinking about them? Do you have to write about them? Do you have to speak about them? Or how do you know that you're improving in those areas?
We try to incorporate the learning threads everywhere that we work on. We try to do bold pages, which is kind of like a resume in a way, and we talk about our experiences, and we always tie them back to the learning threads. Another thing that we do are student-led conferences where we talk about the learning threads and what experiences we've had in our lives, in our school, that tie back into these learning threads as well.
Awesome. You are in, what's your pathway in career tech again?
Cybersecurity.
Cybersecurity. So when you're in your pathway, as you think about communication, critical thinking, reflection, future focused, are you working on those skills?
Oh, we work on everything.
You do.
We work on everything.
Okay. What does that look like?
Well, first, I'd say the most important we work on is definitely our technical skills. Just learn stuff like computer literacy, how to solve an issue. And just because communication is definitely going to be the biggest factor, because you're going to be dealing with clients that are frustrated with their technology and you have to walk them through it step by step, calm them down. So communication definitely plays a big part, definitely in my center of trade. And just learn all the three essential skills: personal skills, technical skills, and also workplace skills can get you a long way. So I'm glad the New York State Portrait of a Graduate is incorporating those skills, because if those students have it, the options are endless.
Guys,
Exactly.
I often share with folks when we're talking about courses or kind of how we do school now versus these skills. And I looked back and I counted that up until now, I've been on 23 job interviews in my life. Not once has anybody ever asked me what I got on my biology exam.
Exactly.
But they ask about these things, right? These are the things we want to do.
Yeah.
And there's nothing, I love biology. In fact, I loved lab. I didn't love lecture, but I loved lab. Experiences and these dispositions, these durable skills, that's what they're calling them now. Durable skills, right? Like these are the ones that no matter what happens in the world, we know these are going to be true. What do you think about when you hear about communication, global citizenship, creative, critical thinking?
I'm in criminal justice and career tech, and I think communication is one of the biggest aspects to the job. And I think that is a real big part of it, because you can't be not sociable being a cop. You have to be out in the community and talking to civilians day to day. I think critical thinking as well, because you gotta be fast on your feet and you gotta think before others think, basically. And I think it's amazing what they're pushing now, because you can learn these real skills. So when you do want to get to that job, you can already know what to expect.
Gotcha. Now I'm gonna go off script a little bit. You mentioned becoming a law enforcement officer, right?
Yes.
Is that what you want to do?
Yes.
You do. You want to stay local?
Yes.
You do. Okay. Do you know what or have aspirations for a career? You do?
Yeah.
You know? Do you mind sharing?
Well, definitely, I'm thinking just somewhere, of course, in the technology direction. I'm here thinking doing cybersecurity and, defending our systems from threats all around the world, because those are pretty often.
real.
Yeah, because, 10, 15 years ago, you wouldn't hear cybersecurity
Right.
people say this is the new job to go into. But now, technology is going further and further. So either you get with it or you get left behind. Pretty much.
Either on the train or off the train.
Exactly.
And what about both of you?
I would love to go into aerospace engineering and potentially being an astronaut one day.
Really?
Yes.
All right. That sounds amazing. That sounds amazing. What about you?
I want to go into the Marine Corps first.
Okay.
And so I can pay for my college and everything. And then I want to do something, between two things, carpentry and also working in a school with like crisis and bit worker.
Awesome.
Like that kind of thing.
You
I like helping people. So
like helping people.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, as you move through your journeys, don't forget to come give me a shout. Let's see if we can get you hooked up with a job before someone else snatches you up. I don't know if we can fill the astronaut bucket for you, but some engineering work we can chat.
Most definitely.
Let's think about this concept that this podcast is built on, right? We could talk about deeper learning. And there's a reason why we talk about deeper learning as we think about these skills. And at the core, what we're talking about is when learning is deeply meaningful to the individual. We believe that it is in the moment where you can see your identity in the work and connect to it. You can connect to like passion and purpose. You can work towards mastery versus like compliance on a test. So just improvement. And so as we think about this term deeper learning, there's not one way to get to that. So as you think about all of the content or experiences or your journey K through now, and this idea of deeper learning, when you felt like most connected, what was happening for you? What were you doing?
I'll say I feel like I felt most connected when I came to BOCES because all the schools I've been through, they basically handed us a textbook or handed us a piece of paper and we had to learn through that. And I'll say BOCES was more hands-on and more like walk you through it instead of tell you not where to go. And I'll say I felt more connected doing that. And when I came to criminal justice, I feel like they give us a sense of direction instead of just telling us where not to go. I think in learning, you should give the student like some guidance so they can know where to go instead of just giving them a piece of paper and telling them just fill it out.
Gotcha. So I hear some of those elements of deeper learning, right? Like the connection, the purpose, as you describe what you experienced in coming to BOCES, in coming to the criminal justice program, your identity in the work, feeling like you can connect or see yourself in that work, relationships. Anyone else want to share?
Of course, when I came to BOCES as well, I feel like that was when I also started to really engage with deeper learning. In middle school and elementary school, especially in math, science, STEM in general, I was never really interested. And then when I came to BOCES and I got that hands-on experience, specifically in machining, CADing, and all of that, I realized it's something that I really like. And the issue was I was just doing a paper, tests, reading out of a textbook, and I found that I have a lot of fun doing it.
Okay. And also, right, learning is deeply relational. Is there something in your current environments, between your peers, between the teachers, that is different than in other places that you've had learning?
I have responsibility. That's one thing that's on me all the time, is because I'm one of the only people that has the responsibility to like do all the things around the school, like have my badge and like do this thing, like deliver the water bottles or deliver this, do that, and like landscaping outside. And it's a big responsibility, yes, because if somebody messes up, people can get hurt.
Yeah.
So it's good to have that, but you also have to be responsible and you have to earn yourself for doing it. You have to
Right.
prove that you can do it.
Yeah, there's ownership in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you take responsibility for your actions if you do something
Yeah.
wrong. So, and that you have to have that good communication with your, like with my boss, Aaron, or something. If I
Right.
do something wrong.
And I mean, you've shared with me a little bit about, and you shared publicly
Yeah.
about how you've developed and how BOCES has done that for you. You know, part of that is attributed to the adults and your peers in the school
Yeah.
and the experiences and responsibility you've been given. So I love that you can be reflective as to kind of who you were and who you are.
Yeah, I came into BOCES a completely different person, coming out another completely different person.
Yeah.
So they've changed me for the better.
Well, I would think that created the condition
Yes.
for you to do the change work that you need to.
No, I disagree with that.
Right.
They've actually changed me fully.
I could kind of relate to that.
Yeah.
I came
fully.
I came into BOCES kind of an angry student because like I didn't have no sense of guidance, and like I felt like my environment I was in was not really meant for me, and coming into BOCES really taught me how to be patient and how to find a way to deal with that type of stress and negativity in a different way. By like I came into BOCES in Ramapo, so Ramapo days we would do stuff outside to kind of take that stress away. Like, and I found out when I was upset just to go outside and take a walk or just have a conversation. One of my favorite staff members, like staff members at BOCES, I would say they're more patient and they're more understanding than other schools I was in.
And you know, as you all share that, right? Like, that's the stuff, because you can have whatever knowledge, but if you don't have the ability to understand what you need to be able to regulate or take a walk or develop those communication skills, that knowledge is going to be tough to translate into whatever you're doing. And so it's beautiful to hear you both talk about kind of your developmental arcs of who you've become. I said it's because of the environment. You say they've changed you. It's awesome. Yeah. You want to jump in?
Oh yeah. So deeper learning to me is schools mostly, I would say, like from the student perspective, is mostly coming in class, taking information, and then on a piece of paper writing down, and then hopefully you pass or not. And to me, that's not, being successful. I feel like it shouldn't be based off a test score or a grade. It should definitely be more like, how can you solve the problem? Like, of course, I feel like students try to install this professional, like they need to be perfect in every aspect. If they get even a slight below grade, if they went from a 90 to 80, they're not getting success, not going to be good for the rest of their life, wherever they do at their high school. That's when BOCES come in. You're actually coming into not just school, but actually work. You're coming in on time and you're learning stuff that is not based on the test score. It's based on your abilities. Can you solve this? Can you do that? Yes, you're going to fail. To fail, it's not like, okay, oh, it's over. No, failure leads to success. There's been a lot of people that fail, keep failing, and eventually they reach their peak, their success. And most of these teachers, especially at my home district, they're mostly getting paid to teach the curriculum, and they really don't get to personalize what they think is the best for the students to learn. Because not every student learns by, okay, look at this and then tell me what it's about. Some students need more hands-on or really deep dive in. And some teachers, especially my English teacher, Miss Santiago, she's a teacher that actually cares about the youth and their success, because she's not just teaching us, okay, this is how you write an essay. She's keeping us up on what's going on in the world, what the laws, stuff that's being changed, everything that's going on. She keeps us informed and really has us think deeper about what is society and how it's being formed and being changed every single day. And I feel like that's so influential to me because I'm learning more than just basic school wise. I'm learning basically the world, which I'm going to need after high school and all that. And all that stuff, I feel like it's the biggest part of deeper learning.
And,
for sure.
You know, you said something which is important, which is, and I share this often, that we've got wonderful teachers. We've got amazing teachers. It's not a teacher problem, but there's this container called school that we've asked them or told them they have to do their job within. And it's these siloed academics that typically happen over 5 days a week by 8 periods. And we march you through that. And there's curriculums that you have to get through. And they use numbers to assign grades. And as I speak with you, what I'm hearing is that there's more to learning and there's more to you than just that number on the page. And so this work in New York is about opening the aperture, opening our ways of thinking about how we deliver instruction, what we should prioritize in learning, and thinking about multiple ways for students to be able to demonstrate their success. You said something else, which is failure leads to success, right? Right now, we define learning between September and June. And you got to get through these things and get numbers and grades that you pass or fail, but that's not really how learning happens in life, right? And there's other areas in school where we don't apply that. I was talking with somebody recently about high quality, like real world practice, learning, assessment. And I said, think about the track season. Somebody comes in, they never ran the hurdles in their life. They start on day one. They don't hit the first hurdle and fall and fail. Coach gives them feedback. They practice again. They have a high stakes test. It's called a track meet. They got to perform. The next day, it's not over. They get back at it.
Of course.
They watch video. What did I do wrong? Those are the elements that we could think about. How do we apply that in a classroom, right? So before we go to the last question, please.
I think honestly, when people fail, I feel like for me anyway, when I fail, I pick myself back up and I learn from it and move on. That's how I learn the best.
Tell me,
I fail and I fail and I fail and I pick myself back up each single time.
Tell me, because it's important to kind of understand the environment that allows you to do that.
Yeah.
Right? There are certain places where like failure is part of that. We call it like failing forward.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So what needs to be true in an environment to allow failure to be part of growth?
I'd say not correct everything, and let's see if they can learn from it by their own. But if they don't, then they should. But if they can see their mistakes and then learn from it, that's going to be their best ability later in life.
So like feedback.
Feedback, yes. But not like full-on feedback to tell them what they did wrong, so they can figure it out on their own.
Right, so enough to keep the motion moving forward.
The motivation to do it again.
But not handing out just, here's the correct answers, take a look and have it your own. Anybody else want to talk about failure?
Yeah. Yes. I'll say me personally, when I fail, I'm like a little hard on myself, but then I remember like, I'll do better next time. I think in the classroom especially, I think the teacher should work one-on-one with that student to work through that so they can get better at it and can try again in the near future. Like not just give them a bad grade and move on from that, because that does take a toll on a student because they think they failed or the life is over after that. You want them to realize that one bad grade on this test or this piece of paper, you can move on from that. That's not going to be forever. And I really think that's the best thing to do.
You know, I was recently talking to a group of manufacturers, and I was talking about how they get it, right? They don't just do the same thing over and over. They design something, maybe it works, maybe it becomes outdated, and then they got to reinvent it and redo it. But it's this idea of continuous improvement. Either of you want to talk about failure and growth?
Oh yeah, definitely. The biggest factor to grow and get better is your mindset. Without a clear and positive mindset, you're not going to get back up. So many students nowadays have this a negative, like, I can't do better, I can't do this, instead of thinking, okay, I can learn from this, I can get better each day by day. It's not going to be, okay, the next day you're doing way better. It's going to be slow changes. It's going to be 1%. So success is not a sprint, it's a marathon. You slowly learn each day and get better and better at it. Because we can all agree that, like, because when things are hard, our body loves to be comfortable and give up. It's like, oh, okay, well, I'm not used to this, so let's go back to the old ways. And that's what people stay stuck in. I feel like if students can open up that and just realize it's part of, life in general and being successful, then boom, all quick swing.
So how can schools build the conditions so that failure and that mindset can be developed? Like, what are the things schools can do to help build those environments for students to practice mindset, to practice failure and moving forward? Are there things that we can do differently?
I would say things that just having, like, mostly students, they are on the hallways, especially going class to class. If we can have, like, some kind of, like, motivational or something about mindset in the hallways, like, it's okay, stuff like this, and even having people come to the school, motivational speakers coming in and saying their story and their path and how it got better, and talk about mindset and just overall well-being. Because there have been plenty of times where in my school we had motivational speakers that talk about the lowest point in their life, where they were on drugs, and how they got better when they lost all their friends, their family, lost sports, school. Basically, anyone would give up that point, but something in them ignites that spark that allows them to keep pushing, keep moving forward. That's the motto that should be: keep moving forward no matter what happens.
And back on what you said earlier, you had mentioned that box of learning that we follow as a school. At HVPA, we don't really follow that. We go beyond that box, I would say. And we follow something else, the design thinking process, when we're doing different projects. Empathize, define, prototype, test. And when we're doing those, it helps us practice as well about failure and how we can improve as well.
That's a really explicit methodology to embrace continuous improvement or failure, right? When you talk about testing and prototyping, and that's about, we tried it, it didn't work. I got this grade, but coming back together to say, like, what do we need to do different?
Yes.
I think it's a good way of learning too.
Yeah.
It shows a little bit. Yeah.
I think so too.
And the empathy stage is the most important.
Yeah.
And you want to share your perspective on the empathy?
So
Why do we do empathy work?
So for empathy, we get to engage in our community because what we're making isn't just for ourselves, it's for other people as well. A project that we had done, I remember I went to this middle school and I got to sit down and talk with a student, and I made a cardboard arcade game for them.
Understanding their perspective.
I understood their perspective, what they liked, what frustrated them, and I worked with a group to put together a game. And it was really great. It was a great learning experience, and it was great to talk to people and get to know other perspectives in life as well.
Awesome. So let's hold on. Yeah,
Just really quick. Well, currently in BOCES, we are working with adaptive design over in Kingston. Working with Ruben, because he's in a wheelchair now, and we're working to get him because his left side is paralyzed. So to help him, we've been working on a cardboard thing for his wheelchair so he can be more comfortable when coming to school, and so he can feel better and also make his whole body feel better.
Did you speak to him first about his?
Yes, we did. And the adaptive design they've been developing, and we've been developing this thing for him so it can help him in everyday needs. Like, we wanted to make him like a tool thing on the side, so because he loves working.
Right.
He's worked out in the garden before something happened. And it was he's an amazing person, and he still is. It's just help him more so he feels like better about it and everything. And so we can help him because he gave back so much to BOCES. He's been there since, I think, the opening in Fort Ewan.
Yeah.
So,
I spent a lot of time working in the garden with you.
yeah.
I
And it's
did.
really helping him and he's feeling better about it.
Yeah. So as we come to a close, let's focus on this empathy question. Before we design anything, we ought to ask those who are going to experience what we create some questions, right? The most important part of design is making sure we have the right question. And so if New York State and school leaders are thinking about changes in schools, before we go ahead and make those changes,
I
we
think
ought to ask students what you think and what you need. And so we're going to go to you first because you're ready to go. But if you could give one message to educators, to the leaders of the state education department, to your superintendents and principals, before you or as you change schools, you should really consider or you should think about what are those things you want to tell them.
you should think about students. Students are not all the same. Students are not the same. So you should really think about students' different needs and different things they need to learn on a personal level instead of giving a one shoe fits all. And they should also get feedback from the students and also teachers as well, so they can see what they need as well, because they can be stressed sometimes and they could be having a bad day. We need feedback from everybody inside the school so everybody can learn and change together.
I'm not sure I could say it better than that, but let's keep hearing from you all. What do you want to tell the leaders in the education system that are thinking about how we do these changes?
We're definitely all a community. So it has to be a community like action plan when we're taking steps like these. And just being open to ideas, because I feel like some teachers, if they know how to teach a certain way and they see another teacher teaching a different way, they're not really open to kind of oppose that. So I feel like if we're just more open criticism, take in other people's ideas and thoughts to help, because at the end of the day, it's for the students to learn. It's not for you to have pride of how you teach. If the student is not learning, is not doing good in your class, something has to change. And a lot of teachers, to me, are stubborn with changes. And if we can just be more open and learning, new techniques, I'm stealing your answers a little bit, that's my bad. And not so much, I call the banking method, which is, I touched on this before, which is you're just giving information, but not actually teaching it. I'm giving a student a textbook, or you go on that website and learn this. If we can just be more like, okay, let's break this down. Let's do this and that. It could be way better to see better growth and test scores, even coming to school attendance. If students know that they're looking to something new each day, that's so much than just come in, okay, sit down, and then it's just the same old, same old.
Right.
Stuff like that can be implied in schools is the best way for growth, in my opinion.
Beautiful. Thank you.
I 100% agree with everything that has already been said. And I also think that we need to normalize failure a little bit more in our community, in our school, because a lot of the times a student thinks failure means that they're bad at it and they shouldn't do it. And a lot of the times they'll lose a lot of motivation. I've experienced that before myself. And once I learned that it's okay to fail and failure makes you grow, I learned a lot more in my life as well, and a lot more in school. It made me look forward to school more as well.
You have to have the passion to come to school and the motivation to do it. And I think that's a very good thing, because if you don't have the motivation, you're not going to want to come to school. And then that anxiety builds up from the work and stuff, and more work piles up, then you fall behind. And then it stresses more people out. And then when you have that motivation and the excitement to come to school every day, you're going to be perfect. And those communication skills are going to help you so much. When you communicate that you want to come to school and the motivation that helps with that, that's going to be the most helpful thing.
So we are here at Leading for Deeper Learning. We're hearing that our education system can't be one size or one shoe fits all, that we need to be open, our educators need to be open to the different styles, that this change is about not just educator change, it's about community change, where we got to be in this together, that the mechanism of that transactional learning, I tell you this, you give me that back. That isn't just the only way to do that. We can do that by normalizing failure
100%.
and by making sure that our schools are driving passion and motivation. So anybody that's listening, you just heard the recipe from 4 beautiful, wonderful, brilliant students. Thank you all for taking this field trip over here to have this conversation with me on Leading for Deeper Learning. Appreciate you.